What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of Live Fridays on Thursday. Again, a platform I use to interview pro players, pro coaches, tennis enthusiasts, you name it. By trade, my name is Chris Clark, the traveling tennis coach, and I couldn't be more excited to welcome in our guest today. He is a WTA coach. He coaches the number 62nd player in the world, Lauren Davis. His name is Eddie Elliott. Check it out.
What's up, man?
Hey man, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Long time no talk to.
I know, man. It's been a minute. Uh,
Yeah.
what's
Where are you? Oh, go ahead.
what it has to be. Last time we saw each other was the first time I met you. I think in Chicago.
No, so actually, I saw you at Everett's Academy, I think, in December
Oh,
of
that's right.
2018.
Yeah, that's right. When we were testing the balls.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I remember.
yeah, man. How have you been?
Been good,
Okay.
Just going through the swing of things. It's things are starting to loosen up down here in Florida, but it's been locked down just like everyone else. Um,
Okay, cool. Have you started practicing and stuff like that?
So courts just opened up today, and
Oh, wow.
the restrictions are only singles,
Okay.
which doesn't matter really for us, but for other people it does. I've been doing some active rest, home workouts, enjoying some time with some family, boyfriend, etc. So it's been a nice unplanned break, if you know what I mean.
Nice unplanned break.
Yeah.
Are you itching to get back into it
Oh
or?
yeah, I'm ready to get back on court. Now this is what we're going into week 8 of quarantine.
Yeah.
So, um, although to be honest, I've loved being home. It's been nice to be home with family. I have an older dog, and she's seen better days, but it's worked out good to be home during this time. So no complaints here, man.
Man, nice, man, nice. So I know you're in quarantine lockdown. I'm always curious. How are you staying fit? What are you doing to stay fit, or recommend to Lauren to stay fit as well?
So, a couple things. My friend, through all this craziness, rented out his house and said, "Hey, Eddie, I got a home gym. You're welcome to pack it up and take it." So I moved out my garage and kind of set up shop there. So gym hasn't really been an issue. A lot of home workouts. As far as Lauren, the biggest thing is like staying active, whether it's rollerblading, lockdown, just kind of set up shop there. So gym hasn't really been an issue. A lot of home workouts. As far as Lauren, the biggest thing is like staying active, whether that's rollerblading, biking, going for walks, going for some runs. Just so you keep the blood pumping. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be treacherous workouts, but it's got to be just moving every day.
for sure, man, for sure. And how did you? I always ask this, like, how did you get into coaching at the level you're coaching at? I think it's super interesting, and it's something I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And every time I see you on TV, I'm like, I know that guy.
Man, it's weird. Like all the coaches I've met on tour, great people, and everyone has their unique way about it. But if I had to draw any similarities, it's like you build a rapport with a player trusts you enough to give you a shot, and then it's up to you and obviously the player. And if it starts to work out, it keeps going, and if not, then your run ends. And unfortunately for me, we had really good success right as soon as we started working, and really haven't looked back since. So it's been an awesome journey, very unique, but it's been good.
Yeah, super cool, super cool. And a little bit about your background, and correct me if I'm wrong, played Appalachian State, am I right?
Yeah, I played a little bit at Appalachian State
Okay.
University, and then I
Yeah,
finished this school down here in Florida. And then I worked for a little bit, gave the futures a shot. You know what I mean? Went out there, played my club tennis in Europe, which was a blast. Recommend it to anyone. And
yeah.
then got a little burnt out and ran out of money playing tennis. So
Very cool. Very cool.
There?
Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
hear you.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jumped in. Family's been in real estate, and I was kind of over the tennis thing because it's been most of my life. And but the tennis community down here in Florida is really small, and was helping some players out, and then had this opportunity with Lauren, and decided to go with it, and kind of jump back into tennis. And to be honest, tennis has been always one of my passions in life, so it worked out like it should, I guess.
Yeah. And what would you say your favorite part about being a professional coach or a WTA coach is? I mean, you get to travel, you see cool places, cool things, see kangaroos, you know?
The travel is awesome. It's one of those catch-22 because from the outside, it's like, oh, you're living the dream job, which I am. I can't lie about that. But it really puts in perspective time and time spent with others and time spent with family. And it's interesting. You go, our years
Yeah.
are 30, 40 weeks on the road. Well, when you come back home, things have changed. Like that's a substantial amount of time. So it has its plus and minuses, but as far as like favorite things, you're with a group of people that are pushing the limits mentally and physically constantly, and always looking for that next edge or how they can be better. And it's a really growth orientated environment, I would say. And so
Yeah.
it pushes you personally to always, just as much as a player's trying to get better, I'm trying to get better as a coach. And if I'm not striving to be better as a coach, what am I transpiring to my player as well?
Sure.
So it's that balance. But yeah, man, the travel, honestly, on the personal note, I love coffee. So like the coffee around the world is a huge plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
If you had to pinpoint like some challenges of being a coach, what would you say? I mean, it sounds like one challenge is that you're on the road 30 to 40 weeks and
Yeah,
things are one way when you leave and then come back a different way.
yeah, that's one challenge. And the players, Lauren's a veteran on the tour, 10 years on the tour. She's dealt with it for a long time. So I think that's something newer, more on my side. But as far as challenges, it's also taking your little victories. Not everything has to be a big victory, and really focusing on just marginal. If I'm getting a little better each day, I'm moving forward. You know what I mean? If we have a bad day, no big deal. The next week we have another week to give it a shot, and not inflating stuff too much where it's like, do or die, because the stress of the game and the tension of the game is like that. It's so built up. When you're playing in front of maybe millions of people, that's a lot of
Yeah.
stress.
Right. Yeah.
And playing for a lot of money, like that's a lot of stress. And to do that week in and week out requires a lot of fortitude, and then also a lot of stepping back and decompressing and realizing like a tennis match is not the end of the world if I win or lose.
Yeah.
And my bigger focus is, becoming a better tennis player, becoming a better person. And those deeper values, they push you through the season when the season's getting long.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I'm just thinking about like planning, right? Do you look at goals or do you focus a lot on the process? And I asked that question because from my college tennis days, I was so goal oriented. It was pretty black and white. It was like, did I win? Did I lose?
Yeah.
Did I hold serve? Did I get broke? How many times did that happen? But as I've gotten older, I started to focus more on just the process and being professional in whatever I do every day, day in and day out. But I
Yeah,
was
and
curious how you approach that as a coach.
I think stepping outside yourself and not playing as a player anymore, you realize how important the process is. To win or lose, being committed to being better at a certain aspect of the game. And
Yeah.
in college tennis, or junior tennis, sometimes you can get so wrapped up on the winning and losing that if you're getting better in your matches, whether winning or losing, you're moving forward. And if you're winning the wrong way, which at the highest level you really see it shine, is like you might get lucky and win a match out of the type of player that you are. But most of the time, and the higher it gets, these girls know what their strengths are. They know what their game is, and they're going and they're fully committed to how they play. And at the lower ranks, sometimes we'll drop our level just to get that W rather than be committed to our game. And it still happens at the level that Lauren's at, but it's just a smaller margin. And so, yeah, you're exactly right, man. The process is way more important. Yes, you got to win, right? There's no way around it. But
Yeah.
the process is going to bring those victories, not the winning.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. That's super cool. Super cool. And I'm just thinking we're living through a pandemic, which is going to be history we tell grandchildren about one day. But what impact post-COVID, I mean, do you think it will have on tennis, or on sports in general?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I have a couple friends in some different sports, and a buddy in golf that said they're about to have their first event scheduled in June with no spectators. Quoted that he doesn't want to play a slam without spectators, which, you know, is such a it's weird to think that the U.S. Open Finals would be played in an empty stadium. If that happens, I mean, it's so out of the box. I don't know what's going to happen. It's definitely changed how waving. It's like right on it. Find out if they're rational or if it's, I hate to use irrational, but sometimes it's irrational, and you allow them to take on the challenge, right? So next time it comes up, you know that feeling is coming, and you kind of embrace it, and you head it right on instead of kind of avoid it and push it to the side. And like we said, is like trying to get the W rather than trusting the process to kind of win your match.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more with you. One of the things I neglected, different level, right? But one of the things I neglected as a player was the mental aspect of the game, especially as a junior. But I found, you know, as I went through college, the better I got at the mental aspect of the game, ultimately the better I played and the better player I was able to become. And I just feel sometimes as juniors that I coach, they want to just get out and hit the ball, right? They do everything without thinking. And I'm challenging even myself to slow down and think about what's happening and what's going on in order to make things happen.
Yeah, like being real intentional. The difference between how Lauren practices and maybe a girl that's not ranked as high or junior is Lauren's intention. And yes, she's professional, top in the world. But when we do something, we do it and we're done with it. There is no waving. It's like right on it. This is what's today's work. This is the shot that we're working on. We drill it. Bam, it's there. I don't need to think about it. Let's go on to the next thing. And that's the intention that she jumps on when she steps on court. It's very clear. As a coach, because I've coached the younger levels, and sometimes the focus is way, up and down. And it's like, I don't know if I should be doing this. And as a player, you grow, right? You're not going to have that same exact focus when you're younger. But as a coach, it's part of your job to kind of instill those intentions, those disciplines, to show why it is so important in the game.
Yeah, and one of the things, I love watching pros practice. Like when I was doing the ball drill, I was amazed just because the one thing I found out, I was like, everybody's not only very professional, but, they all hit the ball clean. They all hit the ball hard. If you were to just watch practice, you'd be like, how does anybody beat anybody, right? Because there's a lot of similarities or commonalities that are happening. And I'm just curious from your perspective, as you look at different levels, maybe challengers or futures to the tour or whatever it is, like where would you say is the biggest difference is between those levels?
Being able to pivot. We had to grind through some challenge matches when Lauren was coming back. She was, I don't know, 260 in the world at the lowest. and her ability to pivot when things weren't going well and stay clear-minded and change her game plan was much faster than the lower level girls. And that's part of staying mentally clear. You know, the mental side, like watching it, you'd be like, oh, she's mentally tough, which she is. But she was also, from a strategic point of view, was able to adjust her very fast, realize what was working and what wasn't working, and double down on the strengths. And, you know, a guy 500 and a guy top 100, if they're practicing together, no problem. I mean, you've seen the guys hit great balls, but the guy top 100 knows can adjust really well, can read a game plan really well. It's not just about hitting the ball hard and hoping you win.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. It's those small, minute differences, right, that are going to change the set, that are going to change the game, change the match. And I just feel like as you go up, that's where the difference
it starts to be. It's been awesome because USTA supports us, American Tennis, and they give us you know, matches to watch, statistics on matches, and so I'm able to gather a whole bunch of collective data on players that we play, and really become even more of a student of like how you're breaking down game plans. And it's still up to Lauren to execute on these and use these tools. I just give them the tools.
Right.
Go use those how you should use them. But from an outside perspective, how I used to play tennis, and then now how I view a tennis match. You know, I was playing blind out there, like in comparison. And so even as younger players, I know younger players hate to watch video, hate to do analysis, but that's one of the most important things you can do. And just build your tennis IQ. It can take you a long way. Yeah,
no, I couldn't agree more with that. And I was one of those players who hated to watch video, especially, you know, in matches that I lost, right? I hated to see myself lose or not do good, but those are the times where I really should have been focusing on video. But yeah, no, it's funny. I got one more question for you.
Yeah, shoot.
I always think about like my future, you know, 4, 5, 10 years down the road. And I'm thinking, you know, as a coach, and as you look towards the future, what type of goals do you set for yourself in terms of coaching or in terms of training, your 100 push-up contest?
Yeah, well, I think I'm on day 34. My shoulders are starting to get pretty sore. As far as goals, man, you know, if I love what I'm doing and I love who I'm working with, whoever I'm working with, the tennis is always been a passion of mine. So that's kind of my two standards, I guess. Whoever I'm working for or coaching, I want to enjoy and feel like I'm bringing value to them. And two, if I'm enjoying it myself, you know, those are some of the only things you can ask for. As far as, you know, resume stuff, you know, I would love to take a player to second week, quarter, semis, finals of a slam, be a part of that ride, and know, you know, I put in and made a difference and allowed them to be the best version of themselves. And that just in itself is super rewarding when you see someone start to thrive. And I think as coaches, that should be, doesn't matter what level it is, it should be our one of our greatest focuses is when you see someone just being the best version that they can be.